Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at two books sent over by J.R. BEIRENS. J.R. sent over a previous book that I covered, I think, in one of the mailbag episodes. It was, I believe, called Gray Hat and a Cowboy Story. And I had given J.R. some feedback on like coloring and stuff like that, just kind of chatting on Instagram and whatnot. So really excited to see some new work, see the evolution of JR's art. I am very excited to see the work in black and white. It has that kind of like clean line quality to it where I can really appreciate the line art in black and white. If I remember correct, it was a while since we talked about it, but I think JR was struggling kind of with like dealing with computer colors and using gradients and just color, like wanting to stick to more natural colors, but having these sequences where there's less natural colors. So I think that's something that's like cool to see stripped out. It would be fun to see it start to come back in. Maybe more like minimal, I think would probably be the way. Like I think the coloring on this, is quite better. There's like a warm versus cool and all of that. But that said, seeing all this stuff in black and white is really nice. There's a lot of really nice line work. There's definitely an influence from like Brandon Graham in the clean lines and some of the designs and stuff. And so all of that kind of thing works really beautifully for me in line as well. This is all about a city called bird stacking, or a place in the world called bird stacking, and there's a number of different stories, so I'm just going to flip through and you can kind of see some of the different characters and the different vibes. And JR talks about that in the back of one of these books, that this is like a one-man anthology that covers a bunch of different stories that are happening in the same city. So I think that's a really interesting idea, and it allows JR to switch between genres. So here's more like that post-apocalyptic sci-fi with these big monsters. This one's more like a horror werewolf fighting a robot character. Here you can see some of the more like the robots combined with these big mushroom monsters. And you can see some of that, like this is the stuff to me that looks a little bit like Brandon's work, the way the word balloons are going, some of the little like sound effects and stuff, and just the quality of line and some of the shapes in there. So for people who really like that really rich world building and really like fantastical visionary art, I think J.R. BEIRENS is like someone who's evolving very rapidly in that area and someone to watch out. I do think some of the reproduction stuff, it's a little dirty, but it's very much like self-published stuff. And this is a huge improvement over the last one I saw. So very exciting stuff. You can see there's some mysticism, like demonic stuff going on in here. And then in the back, you get some pinups and also some peeks into the writing process and like the sketches and stuff. Here, JR acknowledges that the process is ever evolving. It evolves around a general map and then is free jazz. That was probably the biggest barrier to me in reading these, is there's other stuff that I haven't read that's obviously from the same bird stacking world. I've only read the Gray Hat one. So I do feel like I'm missing out a little bit on who some of the characters are. I need to read more, but now as I'm getting a bigger picture of this whole world, it's pretty compelling to me, and I'm pretty curious about all that. So then this one is Bird Stacking Comics. That one's more titled after the name of the project, and this is called Sore Thumb, a bird stacking story. And so we get this guy here, falls off a roof and dies. Some really great cartooning here, really awesome image. This one also has like more crispy reproduction in it of the line art, particularly like whatever kind of reproduction is going on the covers. Like I can actually physically feel the lines. The ink is sticking up off the paper so much, which is pretty sexy. But some real cool cartooning, really like the death here. We have the character's dead, and then he goes on this like strange afterlife journey throughout the book, and you get to meet a lot of these other characters. We get the guy who's died is named Hugh Man, and this dog-looking character is Seth Gallant. They're entering here the Old Gate bird stacking city perimeter historic site destroyed in the incursion. So you're starting to get a sense of like the history of this city. But those are all things, like I said, that just aren't like fully congealed for me in my view of it. So it's hard to form a fully realized opinion of this work. But I like where it's headed. I like this idea of this expansive world that one guy can work in and tell a lot of different stories. And then I'm starting to see better and better imagery throughout. Like, I love this page. I love the balance of black and white and gray. There's a lot of really, really nice stuff going on with the line work. I feel like JR is getting his like structural stuff down, where his characters are feeling solid within the stylistic kind of warps on anatomy and things like that, proportions. That's all like coming together to an artist that has a pretty clear vision. I'm seeing some of, I think, Michael Sweater and that kind of, realm of stuff in here too, but I don't know. I don't know who Jason's influences are and whatnot. But that kind of like the Brandon Graham with a little bit more cartoony, like adventure timey aspects to it. And we got something kind of like this, which is pretty cool. And then there's even more experimentation here with ink wash in it. This other story about this crazy possessed cow. And I think this image is like the most striking and viscerally impactful image out of anything I've seen. Like this cow pretty realistically rendered with these gnarled little hands and the glowing eyes. Again, really good balance of like grays and striking composition. So really enjoying all of that stuff in the book. And then we'll see here, another kind of story. There's a few in here, and there's a lot more like Moebius-like cross contour hatching on things, which I, of course, always really enjoy. And then some of the puns that you would get like in Brandon's work, impossibles, so impossible, and then the little yum looks almost like Brandon lettered it. So I think that's like my conception of what JR is as an artist, as someone who has this really vast world that he's telling. He has obviously like a certain type of lineage of interests that go right in line with the type of genres that he's drawing, so they're really tightly synced up. And I really like the development I've seen throughout this. And because I'm starting to get a picture of this whole world, I feel like I only have a few pieces of the puzzle, but I want to know more about the puzzle. So definitely check out JR's work. I think this is like an expanding world that's going to continue to get cooler and cooler as you get to know more about it. And I also really believe that this is an artist who's growing very fast from when I first saw their stuff. So that's exciting for me as well. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for JR.